Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just too fun right now. I wish someone would come and make it more boring.
The Ryzler!
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts! I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. Last week at YCS Boganian, something very strange happened. Out of a pool of thousands, the top 8 decks were all different. That's right, the stars have aligned in such a way that the format is finally good. Or was good. In just a few short weeks, we'll be moving from this incredibly diverse format into one mostly centered around Satellar Knight 2. Presenting Ryzeal.
Yep.
So here's the list. I hate that decks are just built this way now. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is a one-stop shop for all things Yu-Gi-Oh! They're responsible for the pack opener that makes series like Progression possible. They've got strategy articles for those looking to flesh out their fundamentals. They're the most complete repository of deck lists and results from regionals and YCSs online. And they've also got cube and draft infrastructure that's finally seeing use now that Yu-Gi-Oh! Players have come to the light of Limited. There's a good chance that any Yu-Gi-Oh! Content you see on YouTube has Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck's many tendrils somewhere within its DNA. So why not go to the source and improve your game, draft with friends, or just see what 11-year-olds are playing in their Blue Eyes decks this month. Head on over to YGOPRODECK.com. Now back to the video. With that, let's do as much Ryzeal as required. Ryzeal is a deck in the same way that Ice Soup is a meal. This archetype, designed in the year of our Lord 2024, summons rank 4 Xyz. Neat. Each of their main deck monsters has a special summon condition and a lock that prevents you from doing anything but summoning rank 4s. Ice is Etelion Summon, Node is a Wolf Bark, Sword searches Ice or Ext, and Ext searches Sword or Node. These monsters can be overlaid into Duo Drive, which searches 2 Ryzeal cards from deck, one of which is a Quick Play Reborn, and the other of which turns an Xyz monster into negation at the point of resolution, and their boss Detonator is a Dingirsu, and pops a card whenever your opponent activates a card or effect. And that's it! In 2 minutes, I've explained the entire deck to you. It's a boring, uninspired, sit-on-one-guy strategy which plays, as I'm sure you've already realized, 21 pieces of non-engine. It looks like the result of someone wishing on a genie that Yu-Gi-Oh! Would be simpler. It looks like Kashtira a Riseheart trying to sneak back into the meta in an Optimus Prime Halloween costume. It looks like Altair got really into Gundams. Anyway, I guess we'll do the card by card. We'll start with the Ryzeals. First up, we've got Ice Ryzeal, which can be special summoned by sending a card from your hand or field to the graveyard and locks you. And if this card is normal summoned, can special summon a Ryzeal from your deck, except itself. Sword Ryzeal, which can be special summoned if you have a Ryzeal monster on your field or in your graveyard. Why even bother? It locks you, and if it is normal or special summoned, you can add a light Pyro from your deck to your hand. Next up is Ext Ryzeal, which can be special summoned by sending an Xyz monster from your extra deck to the graveyard. This is the only one that's almost even remotely interesting, though usually what you're going to be sending is exactly Mirror Logic Aggregator over and over again. We'll get to that when we get to the extra deck, but suffice it to say, it makes these guys a little difficult to play with by layering their points of interaction. If this card is normal or special summoned and you control no other face-up monsters, you can just add a Fire Thunder monster from your deck to your hand. Did I say no other face-up monsters? I meant no other face-up monsters except for level and rank 4s. Finally, we're playing one copy of Node Ryzeal. If you have an Xyz monster on your field or in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. And once per turn, you can send a card from your hand or field to the graveyard to target a Ryzeal in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position, but negate its effects. As far as the search targets for our searcher, we've got one copy of Plugin, which allows you to target a Xyz monster or a Ryzeal that is banished during your graveyard, special it, then attach a Ryzeal from your deck to a rank 4 monster you control, and only rank 4 Xyz can attack for the remainder of the turn. And finally, Ryzeal Cross, which prevents you from Xyz summoning monsters with the same name as a card you control, allows you to target 2 Ryzeals in your graveyard except for Cross, put them on the bottom of the deck in any order, then draw a card, and once per turn when a monster effect is activated by your opponent and it resolves, you can detach a material from a Ryzeal Xyz monster you control to negate that effect. Finally, we're on 3 Bonfire because half of these are Pyros for some inexplicable reason, 3 Desires, and a copy of Prospy. And now the meat of the deck. 3 Fualas, 3 Ash, 2 Mourner, 3 Veiler, 2 Nibiru, 2 Ghost Ogre, 2 Tactics, a Called By, and 3 Infip. Fun. In the extra, we've got kind of a who's who of rank 4 assholes. Donners here is just a generalist link that gets rid of problem cards, but we've got Dugaris, which does see a significant amount of play during a significant amount of this deck's combos. Abyss Dweller for graveyard decks, Starliege Photon Blast Dragon, 1 copy of Exciton Knight, Bagusker, Tornado Dragon, Light Dragon Adagnister, your usual removal tool. This can be Castel, or Castel can be included elsewhere. It doesn't really matter. Full Armored Utopic Ray Lancer. This is kind of a decent way to increase the attack on a guy that's already spent. Duo Drive, which for each material he has, causes monsters you control to gain 100, and monsters your opponent controls to lose 100. No reason for that effect to even exist. And if this card is special summoned, you can attach a Ryzeal from your graveyard to this card as material. Then during the main, you can detach 2 materials from a monster you control, doesn't have to be him, and add 2 Ryzeals with different names from your deck to your hand. Finally, we've got Ryzeal Detonator, I guess. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can detach a material from this card, then target a card on the field, destroy it. How exciting. And if this card is special summoned, you can attach a monster from your graveyard to this card as material, and if an Xyz monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach a material from this card instead. Finally, the only thing that's even remotely interesting in this deck is Mirror Logic Aggregator. This is sent for the cost of your Ryzeals, and of course, this card, if you have played any decks with Nadir's Servant in it, you may already be familiar with, if sent to the graveyard, can perform a negate. Usually what you're going to do is not that, though the fact that you could do so going second as part of your setup combo is irritating. Instead, the use case for this card is to be sent to the graveyard, then later attached to Detonator, at which point the Detonator can detach at some point during the combo, turning its pop into also 1 piece of negation minimum. That's the whole setup. Anyway, let's just do a game. Our first match is up against Fiendsmith Goblin Biker, and as an individual wholly committed to the Goblin Biker project, I want to be on the Fiendsmith Goblin Biker's side by whining about the hand traps we've opened, but on the other hand, this is pretty much what every Ryzeal hand looks like. This Goblin Biker player is going to go first. They're going to begin with a copy of Terratop into Takatomborg. From here, they're going to summon the Takatomborg, and down comes Fua Loss. They'll make a big Gabonga, drawing us a card, and we will Veiler the big Gabonga. Afterwards, they are going to extend further, using Doug Charger in order to use its effect, and grab a copy of Grand Entrance. They will Grand Entrance for a copy of Boom Mock, then overlay for an Xyz Armor Torpedo, I guess deciding it is worth it to give us 2 more draws so they can end on something. Unfortunately for them, in those 2 draws is an Infip, so they will be ending on nothing. We'll draw for turn, and that's just another piece of non-engine. We'll begin with this X to Ryzeal, and then use Mirror Logic Aggregator to prevent this big Gabonga from going off. Then we'll fire off this copy of Bonfire, and we will go for Sword Ryzeal. We'll use Sword Ryzeal's effect, then afterwards we will get out this Ice Ryzeal. We'll summon a Node Ryzeal from deck, and now it's time to start overlaying. We're going to begin with Light Dragon Adagnister to clean the board, then we'll use Node to swap that out for an X and go into a Duo Drive. We'll go Duo Drive effect. Our opponent will chain the effect of the Boomlock, which of course can take a Duo Drive material out from under it. We will go for the Duo Drive effect, they will go for Grand Breakout, and we'll go for an Ash Blossom, which means that we do get to resolve the effect and get 2. Finally, we're going to go for Detonator and attach a Mirror Logic Aggregator. We're going to go for Full Armored Utopic Ray Lancer and get in for 25. Get in for 3 with Detonator, and surprise, the game's actually over. Plug-in allows us to bring back the Duo Drive and attack directly for the remainder. Our second match is up against Fiendsmith Kashtira, and this hand looks pretty good. We're going to begin with a copy of X to Ryzeal. We are going to use it in order to grab a Ryzeal from deck, then we'll go Sword Ryzeal to grab the one we're missing. From here, we'll go into Duo Drive and be met with a Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill. Okay, no big deal. We can use our Ice Ryzeal to get a Sword Ryzeal, and then overlay for another Duo Drive, trying that effect, just to be met with an Ash Blossom. Sheesh, okay. Well, we can use Node Ryzeal and a Bonfire here to extend a little further. Let's go ahead and send that to the graveyard for another Ice Ryzeal and make Detonator. Detonator here is going to attach a Mirror Logic Aggregator, and we can just pass from this position. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Fenrir. We will Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chill that. Then afterwards, they're going to make a Typhon, use the Typhon effect to bounce the Detonator, and we will negate the Typhon with the Mirror Logic Aggregator, but it still crashes with our copy of Double Drive. They will go for Wraithsoth and then pass turn. All we got to do is just set up a board from a singular card. The field spell is an unbelievable draw. We're going to use it to shuffle 2 back and add a card from our deck to our hand. Then, of course, we're going to go X into Sword effect in order to grab an Ice. We'll overlay for a Duo Drive, activate the Duo Drive. Thankfully, this time it is going to resolve, so let's get a couple of cards, and this should be all she wrote. Ice Ryzeal into Sword Ryzeal. We'll go to the battle phase 16, 18, 26, and just doing a little math here, I think the plugin should be sufficient. We'll bring back this Duo Drive and get in for lethal. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's on Malice, a new exciting archetype from the upcoming pack, which answers an age-old question, what if Math Mech were attractive? We're going first, and our hand looks fine. 4 pieces of non-engine and an ice Ryzeal, sure. We'll go ice and a sword effect. We'll go ahead and grab ourselves a copy of X. Then we're going to overlay for Duo Drive. Thankfully, Duo Drive does resolve. We'll grab 2, and then afterwards we're going to go for the X to Ryzeal. We get the little chain block in. Mirror Logic Aggregator CL2, huh? We'll go for Node Ryzeal, then we'll activate the field spell here, Ryzeal Cross, to go into Detonator. We will activate the effect of the Detonator. We will attach the Mirror Logic Aggregator. We'll draw a card. Ooh, it's Bonfire. We'll fire that off, and then we'll set 2. Good luck to our opponent. They draw Thrust, which is not nothing. They're going to begin with this copy of White Rabbit. That's going to set a copy of 07. Then they'll fire off a Pot of Desires. From here, they can activate the 11. We will activate Detonator, targeting the 07, setting it to the graveyard, and they will get a Dormouse. From here, they'll go for the effect of the White Rabbit, bringing itself back to go into Haggard Lizardos, which clears out the main monster zone for an Engage. From here, they can go ahead and activate the effect of the Lizardos, and the effect of the Dormouse, and the effect of the Hornet Drones in sequence in order to get a whole bunch of material on their side of the field. They'll go Dormouse, we'll negate a point of resolution with the effect of our Cross, and they will go for Red Ransom. We will fire off our Moonlit Chill, but be met with a Called by the Grave, but they'll be met with an Infinite Impermanence. We are trying to prevent anything from happening here. They're going to go for a Thrust finally and grab a copy of Gold Sark. Gold Sark here is going to get a copy of Chessy Cat, and Chessy Cat, of course, can special itself back as well. From here, they'll activate the effect of the Chessy Cat and go for an Access Code Talker. They're going to use the effect of the Access Code Talker, but oh no, by banishing this Red Ransom, you are allowing us an opportunity to activate something. We will use the effect of the Mirror Logic Aggregator to negate the effect of the Access Code Talker. They'll go Underground into Red Ransom into this effect of Triple Tactics Talents, but nope, we still have one more trick up our sleeve, a Nibiru, the Primal Being. We'll go ahead and give them a big ass token, then we'll go Detonator effect off the plugin, reattach Mirror Logic Aggregator, and this should be all she wrote. We'll use the effect of the Cross first and foremost before going for X, using Mirror Logic Aggregator to negate the Underground, and going for Sword in order to grab an Ice. From here, we can overlay for Light Dragon at Ignister, eat this copy of the token, get in for well over lethal, as our opponent has done a little bit of damage to themselves already. So it's time for game 2, and as you can see, we have drawn 1 piece of non-engine for our opponent's 1 copy of Called By. Sometimes you play 21, and the math just ain't mathin'. They're going to go Kagari here, target back this copy of Engage, and then they're going to normal summon a copy of White Rabbit. White Rabbit is going to set an 07, at which point they'll make a Haggard Lizardos. That's going to banish the White Rabbit, which triggers its effect and allows them to special summon it back to their side of the field before making a Red Ransom. We will Ash the Red Ransom, but unfortunately that is just a really good Called By the Grave target. They're going to use it to get a second copy of Malice and Underground. They'll use Malice and Underground to get a copy of Dormouse to summon itself to their side of the field, and then Dormouse effect in order to banish a Chessy Cat. Chessy Cat will return to the field as well, and then they'll activate the effect of the Chessy Cat in order to cycle. They'll go Signet Mining to grab a copy of Code of Soul before making White Binder, using White Binder to banish this copy of Red Ransom and bringing it back as well. From here, they can banish a copy of Dotscaper, summon it, then make a copy of Link Decoder and Firewall Dragon. From here, it's Code of Soul time. We'll go Code of Soul into SP Little Knight, banishing this copy of White Binder, and what do you know? That triggers the effect. They'll bring back the White Binder, at which point they can link everything off for a Heart's Cryptor. They'll go for an Engage, drawing a couple of cards, and an Engage, drawing a couple of cards, setting 3 and passing. Oh my god. Okay, well, what can we accomplish here? We'll begin with a copy of X to Ryzeal. We do get to do the Chain Block and Mirror Logic Aggregator targeting the Heart's Cryptor. We will Chain Ghost Ogre to the Heart's Cryptor effect, and then afterwards, we will just go ahead and do our best. Let's go ahead and get out this Node Ryzeal and the Sword Ryzeal. Sword for a copy of Ice and overlay for an Exciton Knight. Now, we know this isn't going to resolve because we saw the Widow Anchor, but we have to try. Let's go for the Ice Ryzeal. We can use its effect in order to bring out a Sword Ryzeal, and Pot of Desires to maybe get us something to deal with this. We don't find one, so it's Duo Drive and Prey time. Unfortunately, on Summon, they are going to use the effect of Enemy Controller in order to take our monster. We'll go for Ryzeal plugin to get X'd, and then special out the Ice Ryzeal into a TB11. We'll go Detonator, activate the effect of the Detonator, attaching the Mirror Logic Aggregator, getting in for 12, and I don't know. I think we just have to pass from this position. We're not in the worst way possible, but it is unlikely we're going to be able to take this because of the 07 that's kind of lurking. Guaranteed follow-up in the Dormouse. They're going to go Dormouse. We're going to go Detonator. They're going to go Ghost Ogre. They took. Oh, God, that's disastrous. Okay, Chessy Cat here is going to be summoned. At minimum, we can protect our Detonator with its own effect, but they go Backdoor as we do Detonator, and the Triple Tack seals the deal. Let's just go next. So it's time for that all-important Game 3, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. I am going to die of boredom if I have to go Duo Drive Detonator pass once again. Instead, let's try and squeeze one last drop of entertainment out of this stone and let our opponent go first. Maybe we can crack an established board. They're going to begin with a copy of Engage. Engage is going to grab them a Hornet Drones. Hornet Drones will summon a token. They'll go into Kagari, then trigger the effect of the Kagari to bring back the Hornet Drones. Hornet Drones here is going to summon a token, after which they can normal summon a copy of Dormouse. Dormouse here banishes Chessy Cat. Chessy Cat summons to their side of the field, triggers its effect in order to cycle. They're going to go for a White Rabbit, which will trigger as well, summon to their side of the field, and grab them, big surprise, a 0/6. Next up is Red Ransom. They are going to Red Ransom for the field spell before going to Splash Mage, activating Splash Mage and bringing back White Rabbit. Neo Tempest Terahertz has made it to the field. Afterwards, they're going to go Malice and Underground, banish this copy of Red Ransom, summon it back to their side of the field, banish Dotscaper, and summon it as well. Finally, they'll set 2, and it's Nibiru time, baby. Enjoy the rock. They'll pass turn here. We know that some of those back row are live at minimum. We'll begin with this copy of Ice Ryzeal to get Sword Ryzeal. We'll trigger the effect of the Sword Ryzeal, and then afterwards we'll activate Bonfire. We have pretty much everything we could ever want here. Let's go for Ice and then overlay for Exciton Knight. We'll go Exciton Knight, they Forbidden Droplet. That's 1 down. Let's go for Sword Ryzeal into Duo Drive. They will Destructive Daruma Karma Cannon before we can activate the Ignition. No big deal. We can still go for Ext. Ext Ryzeal is going to grab us this copy of Node Ryzeal, which is going to be met with a GWC06 into Red Ransom into MTP07, which is going to prevent us from getting to Node. We'll have to pass here, and our opponent unfortunately has a lot of jank in the tank. They're going to normal summon a Chessy Cat, and I think we are unable to crack that. So we're back with the deck, and, well, it was as boring as I could have ever imagined, but it was also pretty good. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. Every Ryzeal monster works perfectly with every other Ryzeal monster. Ice specials from deck allows you to get your Fire Thunder Searcher, your Light Pyro Searcher, so you always see every body. 2. Ext Ryzeal is an incredible card. Sending any Xyz monster from your extra deck is cost to summon, means you can send another Ryzeal from extra if you want to play around a Biru earlier, or Mirror Logic Aggregator as a target and negate when going second, or chain blocking Ext in some situations. And 3. The deck only needs 15 engine cards, with plenty of one-card combos, so you can run a plethora of non-engine and tech for whatever's in the format. And the cons. 1. Ultimate Slayer is the best card in the world against this deck's end board unless you specifically build with it in mind by extending into Photon Blast. It removes Detonator and prevents Plug and Recover, and whittles the board down to a singular negate and whatever hand traps you have lying around. 2. Book of Eclipse is another tech card that can shut you down, requiring you to commit most of your on-field resources just to reestablish 2 interrupts. And 3. The biggest con for the deck is just that Dimensional Barrier shuts the entire thing down. Since the Ryzeals have rank 4 Xyz locks, if your opponent calls Xyz, you literally can't end on anything unless you figure out a way to put a Hole Thruster into the graveyard. Overall, regrettably, it's extremely clear that Ryzeal is going to be a dominant force in the next meta. Dust off your Castels, they're going to come up. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These videos are made possible by, and occasionally suggested by, my patrons, some of whom have paid a hefty sum to be mentioned at the end of this video. Let's do that now. Thanks so much to About 99 Donuts, Elena Tincher, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Ally, Brett Henry, Cool Name, Darkmaster Zork, Derp and Dragon, DJ Elefante, FPS Lord Derp, John Piet, Killer Croc 467, Night Mary, Legal Rights, Lockstone, Luis Hernandez, Lullaby of Souls, Master of Faster, Matthew M. Derezzo, MBT Play Madolci, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nacho Gonzalez, Naxi Juto, Nebula Yu-Gi-Oh!, Project Mercury, Rohan Doge, Rose Lapine, Soul, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, and Yuki. Couldn't have done it without you.